COVID-19 is resurging in America and elsewhere, along with a lack of consensus on how to balance stopping the virus with maintaining business and classroom learning. Move Up aims to strike that balance and galvanize support for a practical plan to crush COVID without broad shutdowns. The plan prioritizes the prevention of indoor transmission through droplets and aerosols because, even though surface and outdoor transmission shouldn't be ignored, they're not driving this pandemic. In medical science, droplets are larger exhaled particles that usually fall to the ground quickly within 6 feet, whereas aerosols are light enough to float indoors for hours and travel much further. Distancing protects against droplets, but not enough against aerosols unless you're outside where they disperse. Move Up has two main components. First, a universal mask mandate for indoor spaces other than homes, represented by the M. Second, a campaign to make indoor spaces less COVID-friendly by using air quality measures recommended by the CDC and scientists around the world to prevent the accumulation of infected air. Comparing COVID aerosols to an invading air force shows how both components work together. A mask on the infected person stops most of the enemy planes from ever taking off. On the receiving end, at least some of them will crash into the mask. Masks stop more takeoffs than landings because it's easier to block larger droplets, and that's how many aerosols start out. Far fewer takeoffs and some crash landings eliminates enough aerosols to flatten COVID curves. But we can crush those curves if we also eliminate aerosols in flight. That's part two. Everyone who controls indoor space strives to prevent aerosols from accumulating to infectious levels if they escape the mask. That starts with O for open windows, and if there's no breeze, run a fan. Natural ventilation can be the fastest way to remove infected air, well worth sweaters and window bars if needed, but it's overlooked too often, particularly with home gatherings. Next is mechanical ventilation, represented by VE. Set the HVAC to the highest ventilation rate, using the highest mix ratio of outside air to recirculated air. The more an HVAC system depends on recirculated air, the more it should have high-grade filters. There are two main alternatives or supplements to improve ventilation. One, UVC light, represented by U, deactivates viral aerosols in minutes or less, but can irritate skin and eyes. So the light should be kept above 7 feet while air is vertically circulated, or used when occupants are in PPE or on a break. A newer product, Far UVC light, is reportedly safer. Two, portable air purifiers, represented by P, usually contain HEPA filters and are best in smaller spaces because capacity must match room size. So we can move up and out of this pandemic by combining masks, the most important measure, with air quality options. Those options have been underappreciated. People should be reminded to open windows as well as wash hands. Infected air is a more direct threat than infected people and might accumulate despite masks, with improper mask use, crowded conditions, multiple carriers, forceful speaking, and/or lengthy exposure. Masks are advisable outdoors if people can't distance, but a mandate limited to indoors enables consensus, enforcement, and maximum effect. Businesses that can't function with masks, like restaurants and bars, should be suspended short-term while receiving special relief, and reopen only with air quality measures and low local infection rates. COVID will be crushed quickly if everyone wears a mask and no one gathers in stagnant, untreated indoor air. Comment if you have evidence to the contrary. You can support Move Up either by implementing these measures if you control public policy or an indoor space, or by demanding them as a taxpayer, customer, or parent. The time is now, before winter and flu, and without waiting for a vaccine of unknown effectiveness. Please forward this link and support a plan to move up and out of this pandemic.